All that.
We could probably all say that.
Yeah.
Ready? All right. Well, good morning. This is Bill Kanda, Custer County Board of Commissioners, Chairman. It's Thursday, October the 28th, 2021. And we are meeting today via Zoom, in person, and via YouTube.
Oh.
And all systems are go, right? All right. Please silence your phones if you got them, if you haven't done it. And I'll try to remember to turn it back on, but I'll bet Tino will remind me. Okay, let's please stand for the pledge and I'll lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Day.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And clerk to the board Kelly Campbell present.
Okay, good, thanks. Yeah. Okay, audience introductions. Who do we have up here front? Name, just your name.
I'm Jeremy Hockett. Everybody calls me Caveman locally.
Okay.
I'm in actually just live off the Rosita, Della Fox and Keepsake.
Okay, great.
Which one's my representative?
Probably be you.
Me.
Cool. Okay.
And back from the back.
Reggie Foster, PIO. Tina Jones, Administrative Assistant.
Okay, thanks. All right. And we'll start off here. Before we do anything, though, before we go any further, I'd like to make a quick statement and offer our condolences to our Commissioner Kevin Day and his family for the recent loss. But it's a big deal. You lost 2 in a row, and that's tough to take. A father-in-law and a nephew, so it's close in proximity like that. It's hard. I can't imagine what you're going through, but I know we all feel the same and offer you any help and what we can do. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to thank everybody for moving this date for Kevin. You have a funeral tomorrow, I believe.
Yes.
And we'll do whatever it takes. So thank you. Also would like to point out too, we lost our chairman of the board of the airport board in a fluky deal, also young age, and just a result of a bout with COVID, recovering, and then passed away before he checked out. So that was a hard thing. Lynn Legree passed away yesterday. So the county is in mourning. That's a big deal. All 3 of those citizens were great people and citizens of Fremont County as well as Custer County. So anyway, I wanted to make that statement. So thank you all. With that, do we have anything to amend the agenda for today? Tom, you got anything?
I do not.
3 items are up. Consideration of the invoices, road and bridge job description, and a weed board manager, IGA. So we'll get on with that a little later. So with that, let's take a quick look. Kelly's been extra busy. You go in spurts though, and then when you go, man, you go.
I really go.
You do. It's 4 of them.
Yeah.
So thank you. It's September 30, October 5, 6, and the 20th. So we've got them. I've gone through them. I didn't see anything glaring. I move that we accept these minutes for October 30, 5, 6, and 20. We can discuss them.
September 30.
September 30.
I would second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any corrections?
Don't have a correction necessarily, but I have a question. I wonder if it would be wise for us when we approve short-term rentals to actually include the applicant name of the ones we approve.
That's why I put them in the minutes.
They're attached.
No, it's
Minute.
actually a part of
A part of the minutes.
I was in there, Jackie presented, and then I put all the names, and then, because you guys usually say you're approving as presented, yeah.
I did see.
Maybe I either didn't scroll down far enough or
I saw a name. I was going through
that was the Wednesday, that where it should have been the 6th.
Yeah,
October 5th.
I think that might have been.
no, it wasn't the 6th.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
might have been
think.
the 5th. She's on the first day.
It was the 5th.
Yeah, she's.
Because I looked and thought, I wonder if maybe we shouldn't be listing these, but maybe I didn't.
Wasn't on the 5th either.
We do that on, did we do that in Wetmore?
Wasn't on the
Yes,
5th.
it's in more on the
Might be in
20th,
Wetmore.
20th.
26th. October 20th. 26 kilobytes, my bad.
Um,
Approval for Levon and Charles Bullard Trust, Robert T. Serio, Tobias Stam, Dorita Vern.
Short-term rental approval.
well, I still don't see it, to be honest with you, so.
It's right under the DR on draft. On the second page.
Well, it should be right where it says short-term
See,
rental
this is what
approval.
I looked at right there. Oh, okay. So I read this. I didn't read that. I read this and thought, we ought to list those.
On the
My
motion.
apologies. You're all over
She's
it.
on it. She's got every name in the book.
All over it. Yeah. And that's the way it's been for everyone we've done. Thank you. Okay. I just looked at that motion that was highlighted and I thought, So I apologize. And then the other question, let's see, that was on the 5th, I think. Oh. It's not a question about the minutes. I have a question arising from something that was in the minutes. I'll bring that up during commissioner report.
Okay. Kevin, you got any issues? with it?
No, I do not.
All right, it's been moved.
Can I get you to sign
Sure. You just stopped a very important motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the minutes. This is more important though. All right. And that's the beauty of it all. All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes for September 30, October 5th, 6th, and the 20th. All in favor, say aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And aye. Aye, aye. Okay, Commissioner items. Let's start with Kevin.
I would like to thank everybody for their patience with me over the last week and a half and for your willingness to change the meeting and everything to today. And I just want you to know we all greatly appreciate all the prayers that's been coming our way. And so we just greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And that's all I'm going to have
You
today.
don't have anything on the chili cook-off, probably because of that. Were they successful?
I understand it went pretty well.
Who won?
Tim, our pastor, actually won for the red. We did not have any greens show up, so
No green? So you won
so
for
they gave Ruth one for, since her chicken noodle soup was a different color. She made for the- So
How can chicken noodles?
Yeah, I don't know. If I want to
You just
go
throw
there.
chili in
different
and
color
it's
than
chili.
red.
Oh,
Oh,
there you go.
okay. All right, it was the only non-red dish there.
It was the only non-red dish
Okay.
there. So so she won the other one. I guess it was a pretty good time, I guess.
All right. Well, good luck to you and your family, and thanks for being flexible too. And standing tall. Tom?
Thank you, sir. Since our last commissioner meeting, of course, we had budget hearings, finished those up on the 22nd. On the 21st, I attended the Justice Center presentation at Tony's Pizza. 23rd, 4th, last Sunday, I went out to the Saddle Club building and attended the 4-H awards banquet. They do a nice job with that. And then the 26th, we had a weed board meeting in here. 26th, I also went out to Drunk Horse Lane and saw with my own 2 eyes what's been the topic of some conversation in the last, I don't know how many months, pertaining to some household furniture and our camp trailer that was thrown into the
For county trash.
bar ditch in the, it was actually in the county road right of way. And I'll follow up with that in a minute. So that was my calendar. Brian just happened to walk in while we were having a discussion, Clint and I and Tina, about that very thing. And I said to Brian, well, actually Brian said, well, I've been out there once, so I ought to go again. I said, well, I need to go because I haven't been. So we just got in his pickup and drove out there and looked at it and kind of laid in a plan how to deal with it. I called Gary Hyde. I said, hey, I'm willing to go haul all the household stuff that were 3 or 4 pieces over stuff, couches and chairs and dresser and a desk and just, you know, flat or a pickup box and a liner, just stuff thrown in the bar ditch. I said, I'll go haul that off myself. But I said, I can't deal with this big old 32-foot camper. Brian and I measured it and they had a camper. It was a camper in the early 60s model, camper, bumper pull camper. They had a ratchet strap, a big wide ratchet strap up over the back and around the frame to keep the back end from falling off. And I thought, I can't deal with that. 2 axles, both tires on the back axle were flat. So I came back and I talked to a couple people to see if they'd help me do that this afternoon after this meeting. Yeah, we'll deal with it. I tell you all that to tell you this. So I called Gary Hyde and said, hey, this is the deal. And he said, okay. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, let me go back out there. He said, I've been out there, but I'll go back again, kind of refresh my memory and see if there's something Road and Bridge couldn't do to solve the issue with this camper. I said, okay. Because Brian and I decided there's no way you're going to pull that camper out of there. The back half of it will probably fall off the first ditch you hit. So then yesterday, Gary called me and said, done, taken care of. I said, what? He said, we went out there, took a dump truck, went out there, threw all the stuff in the dump truck, and I guess put new tires on the back. You can barely see under there to see the tires were flat. But he said, we got all the tires up and running, and I'm going to tow it to the landfill with my pickup. I said, oh my gosh. So I sent His Highness or His Honoriness back there
Cease and desist
email,
order.
and I said, looks like we're making progress. And that was, I guess I maybe did that twice. And then I said, well, it's done, it's over, it's taken care of. And of course, you'd have been here a couple of days ago. Clint said, well, whatever happens, if it turns out good, I'm taking all the credit as the attorney.
And I am
okay.
still, yeah.
And he is still, yeah. So,
But you forced the hand.
yeah. And I wanted to tell Mike that too, because he was in on part of that conversation. So apparently that deal's done. I haven't been back out there, but probably been there, what, 3 months, 2 or 3 months?
Well, a couple of months at least, and I'm really glad to hear that it went so well, but I'm gonna have some words with the attorney that said just dump it over.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I talked to Brian, we agreed just take that stuff to the landfill and get it dealt with. He's going to write up an invoice for that, give it to Clint, and Clint's going to do whatever he does, his magic with it, try to get us some money out of that deal, at least to cover the landfill. So thought we hit one over the fence with that. And then I have another question. This was brought to my mind again after reading the minutes. Did we forward all the documents for the opioid MOU?
Yes, sir.
Because we got another email.
But I sent you.
I saw the
that saying
email.
That had been taken care of.
So I just
You
thought,
did
why are
everything.
they sending us an email when I sent them an email and said, we've done it and we're sending it. Never heard back. And then last week we got another
Happens
email.
once
Hey,
in a while,
we
they
need
get
your
a
stuff. So I think
in
it's,
their mind.
you know, the right hand not having a clue what the left hand does. So I thought if we needed to follow up to that, we could. But so as long as we do our stuff, then I'm good with moving ahead with that. We're having another meeting. It's a Zoom meeting. Let's see.
For what?
Opioid. Where I wrote it down. It's the 16th. So under Sheriff Hill, myself. I better not say because I might be wrong. There's 3 of us that are voting members on that commission. 3 of us from Custer County. There's 7 of us from Custer County that are on that commission. 3 of us have voting powers. And so, actually, you know what? I wrote that down. Look at that real quick. No, I didn't either. Anyway, it's either Dr. Brown or Mike McFalls. Can't remember sure. But anyway, we have 3 voting members from Custer County. So I'll be on that Zoom call on the 16th. That's all I have, sir.
All right, good. You know, lots happened, a lot of different things since we had our budget meetings and then we had the Wetmore meeting. But I did sit in for Kevin yesterday on for our Council of Governments and learned quite a bit, and a pretty good group.
Was that a Zoomer or live?
Zoom,
Zoom?
yeah, and everybody was on. Couple issues and that I was happy to be part of was the housing authority that they have. Punch Springs is dropping out, and so they're wondering how to handle that. Little kabuki dance, but that was a minor thing, and they're going to work that later. But more importantly was their discussion on Senate Bill 21-290, and it's a $15 million bunch of money that's available, procured by the state for area agencies, which is agencies for the aged, and they call it helping them with long care, term care, and that kind of thing, assisted living and those kinds of things. And so they came up with 2 plans that they parked, 2 options. One is to build a new facility, about 10,000 square feet over there in Salida, Poncha Springs area, and on Highway 50. And then the other one is an option to use an existing building that used to be a Forest Service building that's now a business. It's only 8,000 square feet, but you got to cross Highway 50 to get there, and they're worried about people that are cautious when they're elderly and the traffic thing. So that option's not as attractive. But these are a couple $1 million projects, and the money that they have are money for grants. So it's about $3 million deal that they're putting together. So they approved going forward with both those options for consideration and apply for the grant to get the money to build. So that will be a good thing, I think, for the whole area. And they approved it with conditions to wait and see, and then they'll vote on which one they're doing, and you'll be able to handle that when it comes around. It'll be a nice discussion. Then they discussed their mini grants, and I didn't realize they had the money they had to offer other municipalities. And Silver Cliff put their oar in the water, and Buck was on the board as well to get a approval for $5,000 for his park program that we all were asked to help with as well. And Fremont County was granted $5,000. And then best of all, they got a new bear-proof trash can for somewhere where they got a bear raiding the trash. And let's see, then the other thing, the Justice Center, we did have that meeting. I thought that it was interesting to hear people's perspective on they don't really realize it's been going on for as long as it has until they get a notice in the mail to vote for a tax increase. And then people all of a sudden say, where have you been? How come you didn't tell us? Well, we've been doing it for 5 years. So it's going to be interesting to see. I guess we'll know the results here in less than a week. So see how that turns out now. Other than that, other things, had a meeting this morning with Caitlin on the airport. Of course, we discussed Lynn's passing. We had a Westendorf, sorry, CDOT, aviation branch that worked our grants, and we've got to figure out when to put in our SIP now. And she gave us an extension on the deadline because of this, which was very nice. Had a long talk with her, and then she sent the note back to Brian and the airport board to do a good job, get what we really need, and not worry about trying to meet a deadline tomorrow. Tomorrow was the deadline we're going to try to make. So that's good news. And then I would request on the 20 or when's our next 2 meetings? We moved them over because of election days at 3 and 4. Which one of those days would you all like to have an executive session after the meeting on personnel chief? Either do it on the first one or the second.
I should be okay for either one.
Okay, let's pick the day with the least amount of stuff. Tina, we'll just sign it for personnel.
Let's pick one today so we know.
Which one is it?
Third, we only have SDR letters that we'll have to review or for consideration. And on 11/4, at this time, I have nothing.
Right.
Let's do number 4.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all I have. How about our illustrious guy in the back with his hands in everybody's pocket?
Well, what Tom already talked about, I attended the weed board meeting this past Tuesday, and then right after that, we were talking about this trash on Drunk Horse Lane. And by coincidence, Brian was in the building at the time, and Mike helping. Various deputies have been called out there. I'd gotten a couple of calls myself. I know several, at least some of you have been contacted on that, but we talked about this, the plan. I was originally going to file a notice of list pendants on the property because the property's up for sale. I noticed the list pendant is just a legal thing that says, we're going to file a lawsuit on this property, and there's no way they could do a closing if that was recorded. But it didn't have to do that because, as Tom explained, everything came together and got it taken care of. And that's terrific. But I do expect the lawyer that it was an eviction. All this stuff was hauled out of there. And instead of having it hauled away, just dumped it on the right of way. And I think his legal argument was, well, it's still on, the property because the property, the actual property line's the middle of the road just about everywhere because all the county roads just about are prescriptive easements. But the law is very clear that the prescriptive easement isn't just the traveled path, of the roadway. It's also the bar ditches and whatever's needed for other maintenance like plowing snow and everything. So
30 feet on either side.
Well, usually, sometimes wider than that, depending on the road, but so just the fact that they put it on the outside of the fence in the bar ditch wasn't sufficient, and I'll deal with the attorney on that and try to get him to pay the invoice. I've been working on and this is a confidential legal matter, so if you want more detail, I'd have to explain it to you in an executive session. I'm working on a brief on a matter that's been requested, and if you want to hear more about it, we could go into an executive session briefly after today's meeting. If not, I'll just go ahead and do what I need to do. And finally, I think most important for all of you, because I know you hang on this every week when the Tribune comes out, is to read the Celestial Exploring column very first thing. And that got bumped today in favor of a criminal justice, or not a criminal justice center ad, oh, big ad. I just don't know where their
Oh,
priorities
shoot, what happened to that? I was gonna buy it.
Maybe you'll just have to get over it.
But as a consolation, however, there is an article that's going to appear about last week when I met with the producer from Fox Weather Channel. And there's actually a nice picture of me. Of course, I'm so photogenic, it's hard to take a bad picture. And an article, so that's going to appear today, and you'll just have to wait till next week to pick up the North Shore Exploring column.
Okay,
That's all I have.
I'll hold my breath.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, not to be antagonistic, but I have a bit of a challenge for our attorney, if I could bring that up. He glossed over it, so I don't think you two probably heard him say Liz Pendants, but he said it, and I want to hold him accountable to it. I'm not sure he knows what it means. So I would just like to find out when his discussion of the whole Drunk Horse Lane thing, did you hear him say Liz Pendants? Because he just slid it in there real
Right
quick.
in there, didn't
He,
Pending litigation.
There we go.
he likes to speak Latin every once.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
We got it.
Telly sees
I
those
was
all
gonna
the
say, I
time.
knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Most of the Latin test I had is our kids went to, had 5 years of it in high school. And at one point we decided we needed a family motto. Everybody has a motto, like the Marine Corps, Semper Fi and Fidelity. So they said, I got it. And they said, how about Semper? And that's starting off pretty good, always. Then they went, always, Semper ubi sub ubi. I said, what? What's that? It says, always wear underwear. Doesn't work for me. Sorry, we're gonna work on this new motto, and I'll tell you what that was later. We got a good motto. All right, moving on. Tina.
I don't have anything today.
Yes, you do. You're going to be off on Tuesday, so
Yes, okay,
we need
sorry.
to make
Next
everybody
week-
aware of it.
Next week, I will not be in the office on Tuesday, every
Okay,
Tuesday in the month of November.
all right. Well, we'll shift. Thanks for the heads up. All right, public comment. This is an opportunity, as I mentioned before, for anybody here right now to get, if you got some item for us to think about and do something later, let's hear it. I think you would ask for that opportunity, so here you go.
Yes, sir.
Man, introduce yourself.
I'm Jeremy Hockett. I'm in your district out on Keepsake Loop.
Mhm.
And the reason I'm here today is that I feel that the quiet nature of our town has been disrupted by last Wednesday's training exercise with the other sheriff's departments.
Oh,
I don't feel that allowing other legal agencies into our community is both beneficial and needed. I feel that that it was an egregious over policing of our rights to travel freely and without persecution or fear of persecution. During this training, were the officers made aware of our local county ordinances, such as our Second Amendment sanctuary, where our rights, was our safety impacted by their lack of understanding of what we have done locally, which is why I'm against allowing any outside agency to train on anybody locally. We're not fish in a barrel to be shot at. We are a small, quiet community, and I don't think that much policing is necessary. And to call it a training exercise, those were awful real tickets for people for training. I don't feel that if you're going to train, that you should be charging people for the training that they're receiving. I don't think that is a benefit to our community, and I don't think that was needed. I know that
So they were writing tickets, not warnings.
yeah.
You know that for sure.
Yeah.
I
Well, I don't-
didn't get stopped, so I don't know.
Exactly, and I didn't get stopped either, but I saw tickets being wrote. I saw a local fireman on the side of the road in front of the school getting checked for DUI. I saw police lights everywhere when school was getting out. More people pulled over than I've ever seen in my life that we did and that we need in this community. Like we have one big area where our traffic collide and we don't, and it's, yes, we live in a cultural community and there are infractions on vehicles that you could be pulled over for any reason. There's a minutia of things. There shouldn't have been a fishing expedition done in our community to have benefit outside law agencies. We are supposed to be getting a CBD, a drug dog, and I'm all for this. My concern about that is this dog is it going to be react to marijuana? Because we have both CBD and medical marijuana people in this community, and I'm worried that would create a false positive that they could be.
You're talking about our county sheriff's department getting the dogs.
Yes, because I see.
You switch gears on us.
I'm so sorry. I have it all written down, and I did that on you. But I apologize. But because I saw that they had a drug dog here from outside community as well, and I figured that was probably some of the training they were getting on, so that they would take the dog and run it around. And was that dog trained on marijuana to react on marijuana? And
I didn't know they had a dog.
yeah, there was a K9 unit that had somebody pulled over here on the corner. I've got a picture of it if you want me to send it to you. The last time I was here, I came to complain about Eric Dunstan.
Before you do that,
Okay, I
before you get
apologize.
into something different. That training surprised me. It was after our meeting in Wetmore. You saw it, didn't you, Tom, coming back?
Yeah,
So,
it was not a training, so let's drop the
Yeah,
word training.
right.
Just get rid of that right off the bat, but go ahead.
yeah, you're right. There were agents, there were police cars from all areas, and
Yes.
and it was not announced
No,
that I know of, but that's something we need to understand. But I'm glad you're bringing it up. So thank
yes,
you.
I appreciate that. And I apologize for going off. The reason I bring up the Eric Dunstan story is because he did violate my rights. The case was dropped. You know, I didn't do anything wrong, and the officer violated the law by not allowing me to take a breathalyzer when I asked for it. And so the sheriff's department isn't perfect, and you know that we are a small community, so I understand mistakes happen. So I'm not blaming the local officers. I understand that they have a hard job and that it takes courage to stand up and defend our community. I'm not saying that they're at fault for this.
Gotcha.
I'm saying that letting outside agencies come and train on us is the problem I have. I want that to be known, that they're not doing anything egregious against us. I feel we have a good, solid local community sheriff. Another thing is because we talked about it, because the Justice Center is a large expense that we're going to tax the citizens for. Why would we deny the community the right to tax something like marijuana? Why wouldn't we allow a dispensary here to gain the tax residency for that? Because on the voting sheet that I was given to vote on, a lot of that was distribution of marijuana tax monies that outside of Custer County, other counties are receiving. And we're taxing citizens on commodities that we could be taxing for a leisure item. Now, I understand that there's a lot of animosity towards marijuana, and I don't see this as being a split-second decision, but I would say that if we could at least open discussions to where we could have input to where we could actually start receiving taxes from some and lessen the burden on the citizens.
Good. And that's been brought up here before, and that's people bring it to us all the time.
Yes. Is there any way that we could at least set up a committee to where local citizens could come and we could start opening discussions?
Well, it would be in the towns anyway. I mean, the towns voted on that, both towns not to have anything to do with marijuana. So it would really be at the county. I guess it could be at the county level.
In the end.
Retail outlets and everything are going to be in the towns.
But if we're taxing at 9.6%, it might be something that we might want to start discussing.
I'm not interested in discussing that. We've already had a request this year from an individual from Florida who wanted to come up here and get involved in the marijuana industry. And
I could see that as not wanting that. We don't need
we
that up
said,
here.
not interested. So if if you or anybody else wants to convene a committee to have a discussion about that, certainly welcome to do that.
And I apologize, what's the ebb and flow of me start to getting to do that?
It's,
It wouldn't,
every citizen has the right to do that and ask for some time to discuss things on the agenda. If it's been discussed and it's just beating a dead horse, then do we consider that too?
Yeah, understand.
And if it's something different with different perspective, something new that comes up.
Okay.
And I understand this, on the state level, we got several things that they're trying to pass. that affect
Absolutely.
that, so may
Okay.
change things.
so I'd like to address this
Yeah, get back to the training
training.
or whatever.
Yes, thank you.
And it really wasn't a training, it was an interdiction with all the law enforcement agencies working together within the 11th Judicial District. Those 4 counties take turns. Hosting's not a great word, but
There you go.
taking advantage of the opportunity for the other law enforcement agencies in the other 3 counties to come to their counties to help with law enforcement, generally traffic, but not always. There can be other things.
Has there been an increase in crime that we would need that?
I have no idea about that.
I'd want to
All
listen.
4 counties have a memorandum of understanding that they will help the other 3 counties. There's 4 involved, so they'll rotate through the year. Every 2 or 3 months, they'll get together and do an interdiction in any county. Ours, we just happen to be
Do you
on
feel
the
like
schedule.
community needs that? much
Sure,
help?
absolutely.
Okay, what was your indication to get that?
After talking with a law enforcement agency, it is
Which law
definitely
enforcement agency?
ours here.
Our local
Yeah.
sheriff?
That we just don't have enough people to do a good job of law enforcement or traffic enforcement
So it was a feeling between you two, nothing actually written out to show.
between,
You and local law enforcement.
it
There
was
was
just a
a feeling.
conversation.
So there was no statistics showing that this was a needed thing.
No,
Okay.
I'd ask them what the situation was and why these counties do
So it
it.
was just a want, not a need.
All counties do that. So sure, it's a want. I mean, they've agreed, the law enforcement agreed. Let's
And I
get
don't
together
think
and do
citizens
these
want to
interdictions.
police that hard.
Clearly, we have a pipeline that's right out here covered in asphalt, one of the biggest drug pipelines in southern
Is
Colorado.
there statistics
Oh,
behind that,
yeah.
or is that a feeling?
Yeah,
Where are your
definitely.
statistics?
Those would be state highway patrol.
Where's the state highway patrol? I should check that for the statistics.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and
So
that's your motivation is this
They,
one.
I don't have any motivation. I'm trying to
You said
explain to you
your-
what the interdiction
You
was.
said your discussion with the
Right,
sheriff.
doesn't mean I have a motivation. I'm just
Well,
telling you.
you didn't show it saying statistics. You said your discussion.
Right, so don't say I have a motivation.
If.
I don't have. I'm
if
just
you
trying
can't
to explain to
If
you.
you can't show the community a demographic reason for the increased policing.
I don't need
I don't
to.
think that it's, yes, exactly. You don't need
Right,
to.
I
but
don't
you
need
should
to
be
show
held
that.
accountable for your
All right,
actions.
I'm not
me try
law
something.
enforcement, Jeremy. That's law enforcement.
Exactly. That's
I'm
why
just
you're
trying to explain to you what went on.
He's trying to tell you what he got.
It wasn't a
Sure. So
training.
let him-
I'm not gonna justify it. It's not my job to justify it. I don't care what they do.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tell you what happened. You said they were training on you. That's not true. This was an interdiction. It was an effort to increase law enforcement in our county. That's not training.
When I went to the sheriff's department and asked them that, I heard it was dead, so they told me it was training.
Okay.
So
All right.
let me
I'll
try
do
this, Jeremy, because there's the judicial district includes Salida, the Shady
Exactly.
County.
But it's the same thing. It's like they'd have to call
Let
a
me-
local
let me
cop to be in our
finish.
jurisdiction.
So an interdiction is if there were in an emergency, and you had, let's say, a bunch of convicts escaped from the prison.
Yes.
They're traveling up here or wherever, or there's the drug issues that all of a sudden there's a big, which we have to worry about even more now because of the way the border situation is. And we have, that is given and has been proven. There's people crossing the border with more drugs now.
Locally.
But the point is, it could be. And so what they do, and then you want to look at training, the word training, an interdiction involves, because we only have 5 cop cars or whatever it is, and a couple
4,000
pickups and whatever it
citizens.
is, and a bunch of citizens here is all. And so if that were the case, you really do want to coordinate where you have all those other abilities to do something if it were really needed. And I think that's what they're referring to as training, because the coordination is a big deal. And so they do it, what was it, Tom, once a year in a different place or what?
They have a schedule. They don't
They don't,
publish it.
And they
Not
didn't tell
everybody
anybody.
knows what that schedule is.
And like I say, locally, I'm grateful for what they do. I know it's not an easy job. My complaint is the over policing. I don't want this, like, we're a small community and I like that. And I know a lot of, everybody pretty much knows everybody.
and from what I understood too, when talking to other people, they were issuing warnings. I don't know if there may have been some real tickets because something was egregious or something. Who knows?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Oh, there were tickets.
There were tickets, really.
Yes. So let me just follow up with something here. I don't want to get in a big, long, drawn out argument. Certainly, I don't mind having a conversation. For example, that interdiction team stopped a vehicle for expired license plates. Now, that's not an infringement on anybody's rights. You don't have a right when it comes to being stopped on a vehicle because you sign that away when you get a driver's license. Did you know that? We give up certain rights when we get a driver's license. We agree to abide by certain laws.
And Eric
so-
Dustin's violated those rights
Okay,
before, so we
well,
can't believe that.
I don't know anything about
is
that.
righteous.
uh,
Well, I understand. I
I'm
can't
just
do-
talking about this interdiction thing.
Yeah, well.
So they
we're
stopped
getting
the
very passionate about
vehicle.
something.
That had expired registration,
Mhm.
legitimate reason to stop a vehicle. Ended up being a drug enforcement issue.
Oh,
That's not a violation on anybody's rights. I don't see how you would perceive that we're over policing when we're having an interdiction to enforce traffic laws in our
I'm
town.
sure the Nazis felt the same way when they asked for papers.
Yeah.
But we don't need that much policing.
Okay, that's, you're welcome
That's
to
okay.
your opinions.
We understand. We really do.
Yes, I understand, yes.
And personally, I would like to have known as a commissioner around here.
Heads up, please, on the
A heads
highest
up, would have been nice to know. And if it were a legitimate, if there was really an emergency, we wouldn't be notified initially, but our coordination and the OEM, the Office of Emergency Management, would have been on it.
Yes,
Made
exactly.
sure that everybody was aware.
But it wasn't brought to the highest level up here.
Yeah, oh, I think it was. I think the sheriff's
The
office is
sheriff
the
was
highest
handling
level.
that. That was
It wasn't any of our business. That's all I'm getting
at the
at.
time.
And I appreciate your spirit. I appreciate where you're coming from. You're not all wild and yelling and screaming, and I appreciate that. We're having.
And you're making
in my
some
opinion,
logical sense.
Just a civil discussion about it.
And I
Exchange of
don't
ideas.
take you personally. I'm trying to discuss the issue.
Got it. Yep. So it was an interdiction. It wasn't a training. It was scheduled. It wasn't publicized, obviously. And we're going to go the next time we'll go. They've already done one in Chaffey County. So they have Fremont and Park left on the schedule. We'll go and help them do their interdiction. It's just a memorandum or an agreement, a memorandum of understanding.
See, Jeremy, you're making a great point. The point that Tom's making is
It's the
if it
other
was,
side of the
if it
coin.
was
Yeah.
only one agency, you still are obligated as a sheriff to stop people that are
Absolutely.
and if it was an expired plate, they would have stopped them. It
Oh,
wouldn't have made a
absolutely,
difference.
absolutely. I don't say, and I hear, I know there's both sides to the coin. There's the side that, yes, like, he should have been stopped, but my side of the coin is that, yes, we may miss those, but I'd rather have my rights than the safety.
And I think probably everybody agrees to that. However, and maybe an after action kind of thing would have been nice to say in the newspaper, say, well, I might have noticed the sheriff's departments from everywhere was here and here's what was happening and why. Why it's to your benefit as a citizen of the county.
Yes.
So that would be a good thing to follow up with.
And if we could, and if some small change out of this is an after action to explain what happened, so that we could be a little bit more involved.
Right.
Well, only by the grace of God and my commitment to not drive over the speed limit, did I not get stopped?
Yeah, I know.
We have to be.
I looked down too.
we all
Geez, I'm
came
under.
in the
For the first time
meeting
I've been under.
in Wetmore. We were at a commissioner meeting in Wetmore that morning. And when I came back into the valley, obviously I noticed an increased presence of,
I was thinking
Law
as far as I was going uphill.
and I thought, ooh, I'm glad I'm going into Wetmore, not coming out.
Coasting too fast.
But I just, I just struggle with the whole violating rights. I just don't look at it that way. If you were totally legal, or if I was totally legal and I was being harassed, or whatever, that's fine. They were stopping people for obvious traffic violations, moving vehicle violations. I don't see that gets in.
You know, Jeremy, the police departments, they're all undermanned anyway, and one of the ways they make people slow down is just to put an empty car out and people slow down. And that's not an infringement, it's a way of protecting you, because if you're going too fast in front of the school, you may hit something.
Yeah, and the first order of deterrent is very visual and.
And this interjection sort of does the same thing.
I don't appreciate this white Ford pickup out here for sale south of town. I keep thinking that's a cop.
Yeah, I do too. It's parked there and I slow down every time.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's,
And I was already going too slow.
I think this is very similar to when you come up on holidays, different holidays, when they run the DUI checks. And they're pulling everybody on the road over into these checks. And
Yeah.
there's,
That's one of the second amendments, you're allowed to move freely without being checked. Like if I did
So,
something, then you could check. Like, so that's why I have a problem with DUI
you know,
checkpoints.
but it's a very similar
It's a
situation to
slippery
that.
slope. I
It is.
understand that.
And, but like Tom says, it's a privilege, and on privileges, you can infringe on a First Amendment, Second Amendment right, but you can't take it away.
Exactly.
And so that's when you get pulled over, get a DUI, they still let you go, except unless you are drunk.
Exactly.
So you get infringed a little bit, but it's to you don't want a whole bunch of holiday drinkers driving. So
And-
that's good.
And I will stand up for any, because I'm not a fan of it, and I appreciate you guys letting the discussion
And thank you for being here.
yes, thank you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
We need to move on, but thank you, Jeremy. And you're welcome to stay.
Oh, I want to finish the meeting. I'm not,
Oh, you're gonna finish that.
Yeah, I'm gonna-
You are a glutton for punishment.
you better believe it. I want you guys to do it. While I'm here.
All right. All right, unfinished business. Anything there, guys? Or is there any other public comments, I guess? Is anybody online?
Everyone's internal.
Okay, so any other comments in here? All right, let's move on then. Unfinished business. I don't have anything. Kevin?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. So now we can move on to the three items that we have, and these will allow public comment on each one of these if we're going to vote on any one thing. And the first one we always want to see on this time of the month, that's to get paid for every employee and our bills that we owe to vendors. So with that, the consideration for approving the invoices and payroll, Brady, you want to say anything?
Sure thing. So got those sent out this morning. Apologize for the delay in that, getting everything done. I closed on a house yesterday. So that was
Congratulations.
somewhere where some of my time.
Welcome
was
to permanent debt.
Yes, exactly. I'm now helping pay the revenue of the county.
Yeah, thank you for being a
So,
taxpayer now.
I believe he asked his point of contact if he could buy a house.
Whoops. Forgot to mention that.
That's fine.
Whoops.
I'll
So-
okay it after the fact.
So anyway, moving forward, we're still working on getting those reports out in a more timely manner. But it's the same reports as normal. The only thing that I wanted to point out was in the AP report, the payroll was not pulled into accounts payable. Just a training error, I guess, in our part. And so there are
Not showing
some
up.
bills that are missing there, like taxes, some insurance bills that normally would be in.
Right, I noticed the insurance wasn't pages and pages.
Right.
So along that line, do I still have a chance to correct a W-4 with you? Remember, we talked about it last meeting and then
We did,
we all got
yes,
tied up.
yes.
So can you give me the total on insurance so that? I
Yeah.
can-
We'll be running that this afternoon.
Okay.
So make sure I get you those numbers. I'll send those out too. They will be included in the out of cycle report next month, just because of that. But I'll make sure you guys know what that is. But they're the things we have to pay anyway per payroll.
Mhm.
So it shouldn't be a discussion. Are there any questions on any of the reports?
Yes. Not everybody sees this document. They do see the final summary of this document, right? Because this document still confuses me a little.
Okay.
If this document's not published where everybody sees it, then I can have an offline conversation. I was looking at my expenses on I think it was the second and third page, and then the last entry for me personally as a commissioner it says travel $332. Well, I know that's not, at least I don't think that's accurate. I think that's adding all of the expenses above that, correct? Are you with me on page
Yeah.
2 and 3? 120 miles round trip to Walsenburg for a broadband meeting is not $332 worth. So I'm assuming that's everything above that added. I'll take $332 and travel for 120 miles, and if it is in fact that, then clearly that's not accurate, but.
Technically should be 6720.
Commissioner Day, about had it with you, your mileage thing. I'm teasing. You see what I'm getting at, Brayden? Either that's a mistake. I didn't add up the numbers above it.
So you just drive in
It must
circles.
be a mistake because I do actually have it as 332.
Okay.
Just for travel.
Okay, and so I think, Tina, you want to add those numbers from the 4 numbers above it? It looks like it may be 332. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, let me.
Looks like.
So please do not write me a check for 332 for 120-mile round trip. Correct that, but I just thought maybe that was an addition that brought down to that.
No, that's a great question.
So,
And those are the kind of things I think we want to make sure.
right.
Okay, Tom, that travel of 332.64 was mileage from round trip mileage to Walsenburg for broadband meeting.
Right,
On 9/14, on 10/7, you had a round trip mileage for Fremont County for the second meeting with the DA and a broadband meeting,
which is in here already.
which is on here. And then 10/8, we have round trip mileage Castle Rock for CCA legislative meeting.
Right, which is already,
3104, and then 10/14, round trip mileage to Upper Ark Water meeting in Salida,
okay,
Colorado.
you're talking faster than I can listen. So what did those 4 numbers add up to? Did you add those 4?
I did, and that comes with the 332.64.
All right, so then,
It's 4 different miles.
You had a fairly one. I
so
thought.
you're saying that 332 is all
It's for
4 different
round trip,
mileages?
Yes,
Okay,
and if you
so-
look at the actual report there, it'll show you what I was reading.
okay,
So you didn't, he did,
okay.
he had a fair play meeting.
Right.
But I thought that was reimbursed before, but the mileage.
Yeah, okay, I get it. There's the second DA meeting.
Yes.
When you said DA meeting, I was thinking it was the first DA
No,
meeting.
you had
The
2.
fair play.
So just I think it'd be better if we just put miscellaneous mileage for 4 miscellaneous or 4 trips or whatever, because it makes it look like it's a mistake that it was only for the broadband meeting in Walsenburg. So the number's right,
So how would you like me to? word
but
it?
it's 4 different trips.
Yeah, and I would agree that either we, for that one line item, we say monthly mileage reimbursement, say report, or we actually break it out by trip. And then the invoice total would be the same,
Right,
but we would actually.
Show all,
There'd be a
show what it
record.
adds up to.
yeah, because there's 1, 2, there's 3.
Not a separate invoice, but separate lines in the invoice.
Well, these are separate.
But they didn't show up here.
Yeah.
There were 3 separate travel lines
Mhm.
in the AP report. And then apparently there's 4 more of them all wrapped into that one. That's what I didn't understand.
This hard copy I have not show that. I don't see the
Page,
Walsenburg
no, it didn't. It's wrapped into that 332.
with the fair play stuff.
Yes.
Because all I see are meals for fair play, DA meeting. but
The
not-
second DA meeting is in that 332. That makes sense. That's what I was confused
Yeah, I
about.
don't
See,
see, yeah, that's right. It needs to be.
the Canyon City
Oh, now
DD
I see the
meeting.
Walsenburg one wrapped up at the end. Yeah,
So,
you're right. Okay.
yeah, so that 332 represents 4 trips. The mileage for 4 trips. It looked like it was supposed to be mileage for
Yeah, it does,
Walsenburg,
yeah.
so that's way too much money to go to
Yeah.
Walsenburg. It's how much? How many? 67 point?
Well, 120 miles is what we all got for the
Walsenburg is.
Canyon City round trip and that, I just looked at, it came to 67.20. Not that I actually figured it, but I cheated
Right,
and looked
and
at
that
a different one.
6720 is wrapped into that 332, and I didn't know that.
Okay, any other questions?
That is
Oh,
very
yeah,
confusing.
yeah. We're just getting started. That's just the first 2 pages.
He's got some other header problems here, Brave. Yep. Okay.
Well, I don't know about header.
Well, it's whatever you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember what.
Black Hills.
Black
Yeah.
Hills bill
So
was misnomer.
Black Hills, I think that was a general fund.
I just
There it
searched
is,
on Black
page
Hills.
16. Black Hills Energy, there's 2 entries there. You see those, Braden?
Yep.
Scale readings and Black Hills Energy doesn't go together in my world, especially one of them $1,716.
That's certainly.
And why is it Black Hills? You know, it's
I think we have
even that
a
bill by itself is.
either misposting of the vendor or misposting of the invoice amount. I'm not sure.
I don't know if
I
it's.
think, right, so Lisa and I have been talking about the scale, the invoice that we get every year for the scale license. And I asked her if she could look up the account number, and that's this account number. Now that I look at it,
So
it's the same, the account number she sent me that it goes under, and she said, all it says is scale readings. So maybe when you switched everything over, it is still connected to that, even though it's not.
Brings the
just a scale
description over.
readings Account, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll get that.
okay, yeah,
That's
that,
what-
hold that back up, that $1,716, based on what you just said, Kelly, is that a Black Hills invoice amount and the scale readings is the wrong description?
Sounds like it.
I would say so. Because we don't pay anything to Black Hills for the scale.
No,
And the $51 is probably a real Black Hills payment too. Some kind. $51.90.
and do you think that $200 deal was posted this month, Kelly, or did you just find out?
No, I haven't got it yet, so.
So you made a note of those?
Yes, for the 2 Black Hills. And I'll check on I know there's, I think it's 8 Black Hills, 8 or 18, one of the 2.
Okay,
So I was double checking on that this morning and
okay,
missed the account description. So I'll check on all those.
good.
One on page 14 looks right.
Those were the ones I picked up in a quick review of them.
Mhm. So what, it ought to be public utilities or something for Black Hills and
Yeah. I need to double check where we have been taking that out of. If that, I would imagine it falls under building and grounds and utilities.
yeah, probably under them.
You know, the interesting thing is with these accounts payable, it's really one of the only ways we can track activities in the county that are outside of our purview. I didn't know they finished pouring all the concrete down at the shooting range until I read this. If I'd happened to have visited with the sheriff and said, hey, how's things going at the shooting range? One thing, but sometimes this is the only way we know what's going on, until we see the accounts payable. So, and then we did get the most recent concrete invoice paid. I'm trying to remember the name of the construction company now. I can't, just went off on my tongue, but, so we've had. Is it
Construction Solutions. of Colorado.
Construction Solutions? And that 22,000 was on this check run, so. So now we need to submit for reimbursement to CDPHE for those two expenditures because they're in place and
And there was a
work
note,
completed.
when Chris had come in and handed that to me, he did say that there was, I believe, 10% still to be done. That included the sidewalk and maybe.
So, yeah, the apron out
Yeah,
on the west side of it. We're gonna do that much later after the
Okay.
building's up.
okay. So,
So we can, and it wasn't included in that 22,000, that 10%, right? He only billed us for work done and that's the requirement for CDPHE. So we really, right now, I think Joni's got to be the administrator of that grant. So she needs to get pictures and we just need to
Yeah,
contact her.
Tina's got her doing that. What, you had a question, Tina?
Yeah, on here, on this bill for the 22,000, it says walkway under canopy. Is that the same walkway that you guys are talking about?
Yeah. But it's not, he hadn't poured it and he's not billing for it, right?
It's on this bill. It says 80 foot by 6 foot by 6
That's the
inches
pad.
walkway under canopy.
And is there a price attached to it?
No, but just all work together in the.
Okay. All right.
Says remaining aprons will be poured once building is erected.
That's the
Final bill of
rest of it.
10% will be invoiced upon completion.
Which means to me, he's going to, there's roughly 10% of that's going to be
Right.
billed later that
Yeah,
it's not
that's right.
built into
yeah,
this.
that was the way I understood it.
So we just need to, have you talked to Joni specifically about, okay, so I'll follow up with that.
Kevin, you got any comments on it?
Quick question on tourism on page 33. She just, you'd like to submit the invoice in September?
Page 33.
Yes.
I don't have any information on that.
That VistaWorks?
Mhm.
No, that's a monthly. Oh, September past due, I got it.
I would assume that they didn't.
I see what you're saying. Because that VistaWorks usually runs over $1,000 a month. When they use them, they don't use them every month.
So that's what it is.
They haven't said anything about that not being turned around quick enough on our end.
Tourism,
Yeah, as far as the past,
Okay.
speaking of the past.
Vista works. The victim of the billing cycle.
so we had 34,022, or was it 37,000 the first one, and then 22 on the grant, sorry. I think it was 37,000 roughly plus the 22,000. So we'll get a reimbursement in for that if we get our money before the end of the year.
Anything else, Kevin?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay,
Oh, sir,
we need a motion. We haven't had a motion
okay,
yet.
but I do have. We goofed up. I meant to bring it up in my commissioner report and I forgot. So I made a motion to refund the Querner Verde. I'm on page 34, by the way, if you want to look it up real quick. To refund those landowners $250 that they had deposited. Well, that is not right.
What was it?
150. So I think, Clint, we need to go back and correct that. It's not accurate in the minutes.
I wonder if it's minus, because in this comment, it's got minus tree marking. Did it cost
Correct.
$100 for the tree
Yes, they
marking?
each paid $100 for the tree marking. That was not deposited. They only deposited $150 a landowner
Per landowner,
per parcel. So
per parcel.
what has happened is accurate. What we said was going to happen is not accurate. So I don't know, the minutes say $250 and that's not right.
So the reimbursement was actually 150.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just do
The total amount is,
a motion to correct.
yeah,
Amend your minutes. A motion to correct the dollar amount. Can you amend your minutes?
I don't think it would amend those minutes. I think we just, if they made a motion to amend that motion, it would just be in this.
Okay.
well, yeah, because the
Yeah.
minutes reflected exactly what happened in the meeting.
Yes.
So if we amend the minutes,
You could have amended it that day, but I
Right.
think it would be.
so now we
We can
need
just
to,
move to amend the minutes.
To amend the former
Former
motion
motion.
made or something. Or can you rescind that motion and
That's what
make a
I'm-
new motion?
that's what I'm thinking. But technically then, when you rescind that motion, the action of that motion's already occurred.
So we would do we call it when that happens, retroactive, whatever it is.
I don't think we'll do it non-pro tunc. I think you
Yeah.
just put it on the record here now that you are making a correction to the
And it's
previous
to
motion.
reflect what happened.
Yeah, it's there, but you,
We could probably do it during this discussion because it dealt with this
Yeah, that's the
particular
thing to do,
accounts
right?
payable document. So
All right,
I would move to, I would move that we reimburse the Corner Verde landowners for the fire mitigation at the rate of $150 per land per parcel. And that we refund Colorado State Forest Service $1,300 for tree marking, which was never in the original motion, but doesn't matter. This is a different motion altogether. So we never did that either.
Do you want to put something in there about
rescinding the other one.
rescinding the other?
Have a separate motion.
Because otherwise that would look like you gave
Right.
250 and then.
Doing it twice.
And rescind the motion that was made in October the 20th. I believe that's when we made that motion. Let me check real quick.
You say rescind the motion we made.
Rescind the
No, it was during Guinevere's report.
Oh, it was
Has it,
on the
So
well, what date was it?
she's on the second day, I think. isn't she?
6th.
and to rescind that motion made on October the 6th pertaining to the Corner Verde
Reimbursement for
fire mitigation.
fire mitigation.
Second.
Man, you're brave to second that
It
screwed up
wasn't the
motion.
second one, Kelly. It was the
Uh-uh,
first.
it wasn't the second
It
one.
was the first one, the 5th.
So please change that to the 5th.
I'm still on to reimburse the 150.
So the motion then would have been to reimburse those parcel owners, landowners at $150 per parcel plus $1,300 for Colorado State Forest Service. And to rescind the motion made on October the 5th. October the 5th.
So to be correct, the motion on the 5th was to refund $250 to each of 13
Right.
landowners.
Right.
For Colonel Verde
Correct.
fire mitigation.
Yeah.
So your motion now is to refund the 13 landowners $150.
Right.
Each of the 13. And you added
The Forest Service.
$1,300. Let her get it all written out.
Actually, Kelly, if we're really gonna be technically correct, I think we need to tap the brakes a little bit. We're not refunding Colorado State Forest Service.
For paying for this.
We need to
And to
pay
pay
them.
them for the tree mark.
Right.
Oh,
For
so that
services
doesn't need
rendered.
to be-
Yes.
It probably doesn't, because that invoice has already been submitted, so I
And it
would,
wasn't a refund.
right, I would
Right, so
say
it just
strike
let it
anything to do with
flow.
Colorado
That's right,
State
doesn't
Forest
need to
Service.
be in there at all. Okay, read what you got when you're ready.
Really?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's see if you got it. Just check. motion to,
This is how I'm gonna word it.
okay.
Motion to rescind the motion from
October
10-5
5.
for the 250 and to reimburse 150 per lot for the Kernerbird property owner's fire mitigation.
Yes.
That sounds exactly what I seconded.
Good.
It was.
Is a little strange. Just, I'll have to have an offline conversation with Adrian and Gwen here.
What?
Well, if you look at that page 34, it says that the CV mitigation, minus the tree marking.
Right.
That's right. That's where the whole mess up is. I thought it was saying and tree marking, but yeah, they took the tree marking out of there.
So they were only.
So we're just paying them back for
All we're doing is giving them $100.
the whole project was 250, but
And she probably didn't think about that till she did the invoice for the tree marking and then she went, oh,
yeah, we got to deal with that. So,
Okay, we're good. And I heard a second that reflected exactly what you said. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Tom, Kevin.
Aye.
And aye.
So that should make us whole on this deal, because this is in opposition to what that original motion. was.
Therefore, I move we accept and approve the invoices and payroll for as presented. And corrected.
I will second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and approve the invoices and payroll as corrected. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir. Page 36, Braden. So the Fair Board submitted you this many invoices. Maybe. And the check was payable with the Fair Board, huh? Maybe they just itemized that so we know, but generally I would
Just one
expect.
check, isn't it one check, or did you
One
write
check
all
for
those
the-
checks?
Let me double check. I do believe in this case, since it's all.
All the same number, I'm assuming with
same,
one.
Yeah, that it will be one check, and that's just the breakdown. of it.
Right, and so they,
when you're doing an invoice, if you break it down and you put a different description on each line, does it show up like this on the report?
I think even if it's different lines within the same invoice.
Yeah.
That regardless of description, that it will be in there.
okay. Gentlemen, you see my angst here
Mhm.
when we look at this. If you didn't really pay attention, which it doesn't take a rocket scientist to pay attention, but if you just look down through there and go, my gosh, we wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 checks to the Fair Board. Well, we didn't, right? It looks like we wrote them one.
Right.
That's what he's saying.
And let's double check.
But I'm guessing the Fair paid out these premiums and
They had their separate
Or they-
itemized little deals.
they
that paid.
invoiced us
Sure,
for
they
these.
invoiced their vendors or whoever.
Yeah, it's a good point, because on here, there is nothing signifying that this is from one invoice.
Except
We can kind of put that together because it's, well, yes, we.
there is, the number is, it says invoice,
Yeah.
period.
The invoice number there is the same across all of those. So that would mean that anything that has that invoice number would for sure be one
Billed
check.
on one check.
And further than that, if there was another invoice in here and it was payable to Custer County Fair Board, that would still just be one check that includes two invoices.
okay,
This is truly the breakdown.
okay.
This section here is only one invoice, as you can see. that
Could be 2 or 3, or could have other invoices, and it was still reflecting
Right,
that.
this is
account.
just, 3,
Right,
8
and so-
line items within.
So really, we'd have to go look at those invoices to see what this was actually about. I mean, historically, that's what I've done. If I had a question, I went over and looked at the invoice itself and then went, oh, okay, I see that.
So you can still.
So it may say reimbursement for fair premium for $205. That could have been for 6 kids. We don't know that.
And that beyond whatever is attached to this, that truly is all the information we have. So if there is something we'd like to see more there, as far as if there's something we need to push back in our department to say,
Right.
hey, we want to see who the kids are, or
Well,
something
somehow,
like that.
each number represents a separate item to them. And they would have had a description, $112 for horse feeds.
You see the description that's included in,
I see what's on there. It says account description.
And that's
county
all
fair.
you saw was what's on here?
that is all reimbursement for fair premium. It does go a little bit further. And they have pages, they say reimbursement for fair premium, page 1, that's 181, fair reimbursement.
Okay,
Okay, so that's-
but that's it. They don't break. You didn't get the information that broke down into these are all the horse kids, these are all the livestock kids, these are sheep kids. You didn't get that.
I don't know on this one specifically, but the image, I would assume that the image would have all those
They
pages.
could have written, somebody could have written what it was for if they
Right.
had wanted to.
Yeah.
Like.
And Tom, I do have access, if there's an image in the accounts table, I have access to pull it up. So I see it.
Yeah, I
You
just,
guys can see it.
from what I know about how we run our fair, this is very weird. On the surface, it is what it is, but you go, well, $205, is that for one fair premium? Well, I know it's not, but if you didn't know how they did their premiums, I mean, I think we look at that and go, whoa.
Yeah, and at some point, it's that, you know, if we do have supporting documents, an image attached that explains this, do we need to double the work and write that in
No.
specifically?
I don't think so.
So,
Had,
but the information is there.
okay. Yeah, either typically I'd have called over and said, hey, can you explain this to me? Or I'd have called Diane and said, hey, talk to me about these.
Yeah.
And if it's an issue, you know, that's up to you. It's, well, to me, I trust the professionalism of the people in or anything. Unless it's really a strange thing to have explained, they ought to write it down and explain it, have it roll forward in the machinery.
And I just want to make sure that you all know that if there is something you'd rather see, this is all still fairly fluid and we're
Right.
trying to get it figured out.
You can change it later.
Yeah, I don't think, even though I brought it up, I don't think we need to see what kids these were. If it was reimbursement for fair premiums for the horse show. Understood. They got X number of premiums that all added up $205.
But, you know, the fact that it's a premium, fair premium is all we need to know as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think it's a legitimate question. Anytime something like
Sure,
that does
right,
come up, it's
sure.
like, hey, do we have the information?
And
Because,
to know that it was.
yeah, different people sitting in
Right,
those
sure.
chairs, we want to be able to go back. and
Right. Okay, any other discussion? All right, there's a motion on the floor to approve the invoices and payroll is correct. All in favor, say aye. Tom,
Aye.
Kevin,
Hi,
Kanda, aye.
You need an amount, Kelly, or do you have it? And then I would, I'm not gonna do anything until I get my computer caught up here. Sorry. I would move to approve the out of cycle check report
Mhm.
in the amount of $37,689.40 for the month of October. Gina, can you just jot this number down? $34,048.50.
Yep.
And then add that 22,000 for construction solutions, and that's what we'll take to Joni.
Okay,
That's my
I'll
motion.
second the motion, and that was a motion that said checks, if you had a cycle of checks, the amount of it, and I didn't even think I got it down right, but it's 36,970.
No, 37,689.40.
680.
Yep.
For the month of October. Any other discussion?
And to Braden's credit, that only represents 2 checks. And it has been historically 15, 16, 20, 24, so we're gaining. That's great.
And there'll always be something.
Great.
I'll warn you ahead of time, next month won't be the case because Black Hills, the way it hit, I'm not sure we got all of the Black Hills in this month.
So
Since
sure.
31st is on Sunday, so we're as far away from that normal
Right.
time as we can be.
Right.
Help me
As
remember
well as
to
the payroll.
side eye him a little when that happens.
All right, we square. Any other talk? All right, all in favor, say aye. Ken?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And aye. You got the amount, right? Kelly? All right,
And I'll let somebody else do the rest.
okay, it's
So let's see.
Well, yeah, you wanna take a break or are we good to
He had
go?
payroll on his first motion.
Just do, huh?
He actually had payroll on his first motion, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
you did.
I did?
Yeah, I did. On the first one, it was payroll. That we approved it. I didn't.
Have we been approving payroll? Or we just approved AP and
Well,
No, you've been doing.
we've
We've been doing
been approving your report.
That's what we did.
Well, we did it, but by de facto, did you want the
You had the payroll.
totals?
I've got it.
Let's move on. Consideration of the road and bridge job description. And I'd like to say good job, Tom.
Oh,
It was a good start. You know,
well, I assume you picked up on
Couple things.
the general direction that I believe we should go. I just put that out there for your consideration.
Yeah, and I think it was, the good thing about this whole exercise is it puts a little more meat into what the job of a supervisor is and now a director consideration. And I did check with the state and other counties, and the road and bridge people are called anything from engineers to supervisors to directors. Directors are used for quite a few cases.
I would venture, and I defer to our esteemed colleague over there, I'll bet you that this position has been called the road boss since the 50s.
Probably since its inception.
That's
That's my
guess.
big word for the day.
Okay, inception.
Uh,
And that's what it is.
And he will probably be
Of the roads and bridges.
referred to that, whether we change the name or not for years to come.
Well, it could if we go down that route, or by God, it could change just like we quit calling things vouchers. If they're instructed to refer to something differently, then. And then
We're not gonna.
I highlighted the red stuff there that I just wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I did
Let me
too.
pull yours up.
So, and really, this is the guts of my whole thing right here. It's the time commitments by
So
responsibility.
let me ask a quick question. Everything in red is something that's changed. What in the
Well-
black, there were changes made in the original description.
I did not. I tried to at least
Everything
redline
that's
everything I
black.
wanted to talk
Okay,
about.
that's what, but it
Everything in here is black was in there.
was already there. That's what I thought. All right, want to make that
So,
clear.
yeah.
You know what date on?
Let me look here.
It was yesterday, day before yesterday.
It was Monday at 4:12 PM.
Okay. Was that the last one?
What I'm showing.
I don't know. I pulled it up and printed it.
Let's try this again. That's the one.
Because the one in the board packet was just a black line.
Right.
And then I just emailed my,
You have it, Kevin, or do you?
I got it.
Forward it.
He found it. You see the red line?
I'm gonna screw around and lose mine if I'm not careful.
Okay, so let's go through this so we can get through it timely. We just start at the top and you pointed out it was road and bridge supervisor, the crossed out word is what was there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's director. I don't have a problem with that. Ken?
Not really. I might still refer to him
I'll call him road
because of old
boss,
habits,
because that is a road boss. It's okay.
but forgive me if I refer to.
Well, if that's, I don't mean this derogatory, if that's our attitude, then just scrap this.
Well,
Because
no.
there's no reason to go through this dance around the bush
No, I
if we're
think
not
it's
gonna
okay
say.
because you're.
My whole point is, I think this thing needs some changes, this whole thing. If you guys don't agree, then let's not
Well, that's what we're saying.
BS ourselves. Let's just move on. If we're gonna say he's a director, then by golly, from now on, he's a director. He's not the road
We can call
boss.
him the director.
Well, and it doesn't actually refer to him here as a road boss, as a supervisor.
It does later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
but
That's why I
right
want to
here-
talk about that. Anyway, let's leave it like it is. I think with person was in there. I don't understand why the person.
The name, who it is.
Oh,
eventually that will
eventually,
go
okay,
in
I get it.
Yeah, and
Anniversary date, it'll
Same
be
thing.
whatever it is in the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Time commitments, what was that in there?
that's in there. I highlighted and read, so I remember to talk about it. That's all. It was black. I just highlighted it.
Okay, so those are like it is.
Those are like it is currently.
Okay,
Yes, I
and,
didn't make any
I don't have a
change.
problem with those.
Yeah,
would
I
think
do.
that- I think the issue that I did have, I think the office work is probably a little less. And the field work would be a little more, or would be the same, and then maybe the equipment and operating, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's important, I was thinking equipment operating might become 15%.
yeah. See, and I'm just 180 degrees
I know.
from that. That's why I did this whole thing.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because we only have X guys, and when a guy goes down,
Then we should have somebody.
and the road boss is always
Well,
stepping in because they're certified.
I know what's always happened. That's
No.
my whole point.
Listen here, the rest of this, it describes the requirements that you didn't take out, still makes him an operator.
No, it doesn't.
The black did that you didn't take out. Well, we'll get to
You
those.
show it to me, and then if it is, then that's a mistake. My personal opinion, and there's no reason to go through all this if you two don't agree with that, right? Because it's gonna take
Okay,
a vote.
because my view, Tom, is that we're not high. I don't want to have somebody applying that's never operated a motor grader. That doesn't have, and the reason for that is because how do they relate and how do they understand the needs that some motor grader operator that might not have the experience is telling them?
Right.
And so you've got to have some capability to get the job, and you have to have some in order to fill in where necessary, I believe. And so,
Okay, can we back up a little bit and let's
okay,
time out for a second and go back to the beginning. And I would just lay out where I'm coming from.
okay.
Because if you don't understand that, then all this doesn't make any sense really either. So my thought and opinion here is that we need a director of road and bridge. Then we need 3 supervisors, as it turns out in our county, 1 for Westcliff, 1 for Wetmore, and 1 for the shop, road and bridge shop. Those are the people, in my opinion, that need to know how to do that stuff. A director, in my opinion, in this scenario is the manager of the road and bridge. He's not an operator. He's not a part-time, if we need you, we'll come get you. He's the business side of road and bridge, not the operations side. I think in our case, Kurt, no,
Byron.
thank you, Byron. And Vince, those are the supervisors. Those are the people that have their feet on the ground every day. They train their operators. If they need an extra operator, one of those guys jumps in. To me, the director is the business manager of road and bridge, not an operator. Now, that's how I built my whole premise about this. I think it's time road and bridge needs to change.
I share the same opinion, and that's how I treated him when I first came in, and expected Gary to be on top of the bookwork and the budget and making sure that they presented it to us. And we've evolved, and we're going to, I think overall as a county, we're going to see more every 3 months, 4 months, whatever, reports on how people stand on their budgets and be accountable. And that would force that to happen in every department. I still say, unless you want to hire another position and we can't afford it, you can't just have a guy sitting in the office, because when I've seen it where Vince has been gone and Byron and Gary was the only one left in some cases. So that's the reason. And unless until we get more roads and require more another position or two, then I would agree with you. I don't mind looking at them. I like the idea, the structure. If he wants to organize the structure of that department like that, I think that's a good idea. And have supervisors, call them supervisors under him, that's fine, that new director. But I still think from a point of view that we're not going to hire some college kid that had a business degree becoming the road.
Well, I don't know how you can make that statement. That
We're
just
not-
amazes me when
we
you
can-
say we're not going to do something. Who said we're not going to?
I'm saying, to me, that I'm in my position.
Well,
here.
you
Now,
said we,
I-
you didn't say
Back
you.
off, I agree.
Okay, well,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you don't.
No,
you
I'm
said
saying,
we're not
I'll tell
going
you
to.
what, the county should not, in my opinion, hire somebody, it's all they got is a business
Okay,
degree,
all right.
and that's it. And so that's the whole point. The job description doesn't reflect that.
Well,
It says skills, computer skills, and down here it says equipment, portable fixed, sign, road program, tracking and inventory budgets, but it goes into some things that require a guy to have hard knowledge of what it's like to be coming up in the business. Like any,
The current
like any,
job description does. That's exactly right.
well, then we have to change more than just the red lines.
Point them out and let's discuss them as we go through there. I don't think so. I
But-
could have missed one.
But I'll tell you, because I don't know how many employees there are total, I didn't count them up because they've a couple of them missing. But anyway, I'm willing to step through this and continue, but knowledge of heavy equipment operation. And then you said you crossed out the documented training experience and certification. If you're going to have knowledge of heavy equipment operation, you probably have done it. Right.
True, but it really comes down to a philosophical approach. Either we move in a different direction or we don't. I personally
I like,
believe we do need a
I like
business
the
manager in
idea.
there.
Well,
I just am
He
on the
could become-
opposite side
I
of what you
get, I
believe. That's all I'm
understand
saying.
what you're saying, and to have him focus more on that, that's a requirement to me. And you put it in there, understanding of the budget and finance duties,
Right,
make that a requirement to actually execute to our
Right.
requirements, which means come in here with a budget presentation, show us how you're moving the budget around and where you need things, not a guy coming off only a motor grader and coming in here and,
Right.
I agree.
jump in here, Kevin. The only way you're gonna get in here is when you've got to interrupt one of us. No, and
Before we get off of the initial question, I feel that at this time, they're being called assistants,
Right.
need to have more responsibility.
Okay,
They have not been given that to this point.
agreed.
And they need to be a lot more involved, and they need to be part of the planning and the everyday running of road and bridge. I fully agree with that. There's no questions. That being said, I'm also agreeing with Bill that your road and bridge director, supervisor, road boss, however you want to term that.
Director, but go
We'll
ahead.
term it as director. Needs to have an intimate working knowledge of everything that goes on in road and bridge, not just the budget, not just the paperwork side. He needs to know how you go out and how you fix these roads, or he is not going to be able to perform quality control, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And I understand you're wanting to put that on what you're phrasing as the supervisors. I feel that he needs to have a working relationship. He needs to be somebody that came from that field and knows those pieces of equipment. And when called upon can get in that piece of equipment and run it. And that is, I come from there and that's just the feeling that I have. And I think that is the way that makes it work.
Tom said,
Yes.
you even say that the physical elements of the work environment, you say must be physically able to operate the variety of motorized equipment, including bulldozers, compactors, front loaders, excavators, scrapers, rollers, forklifts, graders, dump trucks.
Where are we at? I'm not.
On the next page, it goes, it's right under basic duties. And then you go down off of that to skill and expectations and the physical elements of the work environment. So, so I took that to mean that you had understood that.
Okay, I'm still looking for what you just read, Bill. I'm sorry.
Go down
Just give me a number so I can look.
It's under physical elements. It's skill and knowledge expectations.
What number?
After
is that?
probationary, it's not a number.
What page you on then?
Second page.
Personnel issues, C, community involvement, D. E is monitor
Keep going way
activities.
down. It's,
F, and that's it.
I'm sorry. I don't remember which page this is. It's B. They're not numbered, so all I have are the pages printed out.
Okay, so you would be on, go all the way down.
Goes down
to
required
skill
document.
and knowledge expectations. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, and then down below, that's required documentation.
That's after 1 and 2.
Physical elements of the work environment.
It's almost the bottom of the whole thing. Physical elements of the work environment.
Right, and I have that all in red, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you
Okay.
kind of like you were adding that.
No, I said everything in red is stuff I wanted to talk
Oh,
about
okay.
today.
All right, so that's why I thought, I took that as your
No,
addition to it.
No, I just highlighted that was in
Okay.
there. So I agree, Kevin, almost everything you said except the last statement. I personally do not believe the director of Road and Bridge needs to get in a piece of equipment and ever run it. Now, that's my personal opinion. It goes against everything that's happened in this county for 60 years. I understand that. Very aware of that. If we are that short in manpower, then let's correct that. I think we need a director/business manager. I don't think we need another operator. That's where I'm coming from. I agree 100%. I will defer that, yes, needs to probably have some knowledge of that equipment. We don't need a pro golfer running our road and bridge department. I understand that. I don't think it would be wrong to have a business degree person running that department.
And then,
Because I would say the next level of, in the chart of organization, the next level absolutely has to have all that and could be an operator, no problem. Let's call them for today supervisors. Those 3 supervisors to me are the front line of running the road and bridge. The director would be just that. He needs to direct those 3 people to get our road and bridges done in this county. How that happens, I don't think he has to have a knowledge of aggregate size for road base and screening and crush. That would be those supervisors' jobs. That's what's my whole premise on this. I could be wrong. I'm not saying it has to be this way. That's how I believe it should be.
okay, that's your.
And this
opinion. That's good.
document would reflect that.
And
So,
And I like, the concept is correct, and that's really the way I viewed it in the first place. Gary was the director and was overseeing the understanding what those supervisors' needs were and making sure it was included. He personally maybe your opinion too, that he got more involved in that and not doing other things and not letting people have the responsibility they should have had. And did too much hands-on maybe. That can be corrected with a strong statement that says, they're the people that are in charge, like you pointed out, with responsibilities that need to be defined better. But I still, because we're this small, I'm.
I think where I'm at is somewhere between where we're at now and where you want to be.
okay.
Yeah, that would be a fair statement.
And I said this to myself. These are my ideas. They're not going to fly because they're mine. I get that.
No,
If you guys had sent me something, I would have considered that, but I got nothing from either one of you. Not even a conversation,
that's
right?
right. Because you said we were gonna you were gonna rewrite it.
I was gonna send you my thoughts is what I said.
Okay.
That doesn't mean there have to be your thoughts. I get.
No, I get that. That's how I interpret it. That's why I want to wait until we get.
And I'm certainly willing to find some middle of the road stuff.
Sure.
To me, it's not one or nothing. I get that.
I was hoping we could have got together on a workshop too, because there's a
Yeah,
lot of
there's
action out to do.
circumstances.
Right, there's more, and I
So-
agree with that, and I didn't want to wait to use this whole, and the only reason it makes some sense because we don't have a lot of other things to discuss. Rather than raking over the coals here, I agree, and I like the idea of changing. I really do. And we need to do it correctly, and we need to get it out when we can. If we have to wait, we can, because, you know, it's nice that Gary's around and is willing to come back and do things.
Right.
But we want to do it right, and if we have to get along without the position filled until after the first year, so be it.
Yeah, I think it's back to the philosophy of us to determine how a department is going to function
Sure.
in this county. It's not up for Road and Bridge to decide how Gary Hyde's going to operate in this county. It's up to us to set that
That's right.
expectation, that direction, and that whole
Sure.
thing. And I believe that's one of the problems in our county, that commissioners haven't done a very good job of that.
Well, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're
So
elected.
I look at that, what, the physical elements, the second to the last paragraph in this whole document, I highlighted that in red because there's very little that I agree with. I didn't bother striking at all.
And we can, and that depends on what that really was supposed to mean, physical elements. It means what they're expected to be
Right.
doing. And we can discuss that and tailor that, I think.
Yeah, if you ask me, do I think our quote unquote, I'm being a little dramatic here, that the director or the manager of Road and Bridge needs to worry about bending, stooping, crouching, climbing, reaching, stretching, and physically maneuver, I'd say, hell no, he better know how to run his computer, and he better know how to develop a budget and track inventory and all that stuff. That's where I'm coming from.
And that, I agree. However, I also agree that look at the requirement to be able to operate all those things. It's hard to find a guy that can do all of them in the first place. So that's a requirement. It's not a million net ever. I
Well,
mean, nobody can get on there and cut a grade, that hasn't been doing it. All he's done is run a backhoe.
and you know, the scraper is on here.
Yeah. It's
I would
everything.
challenge anybody to
Sure.
come up with
Yeah.
1 out
I
of
wouldn't
5
jump on
applicants
it.
that can run
Yeah.
must be able to
So-
operate a scraper.
So I like that idea, and I like where it's going, and we need to change things. Like you pointed out, RBS is in there everywhere, and a UNCC.
Well, we can go back if you
I
guys.
don't want to fix it right now, Tom. I agree. We need to make it correct. We need to spell out things and then put friends in and all that stuff. But maybe we ought to just get a little workshop after one of these
Well,
meetings.
we got to do something in the next week.
Yeah.
I
Because
think
we're going to be behind the 8 ball to hiring somebody.
I would, I think we need to have enough time to go through this, and we do need to do it shortly, but I
I'm
do
okay
think
with
we need to
postponing
do a
it to the
work.
next, one of the next 2
Yeah.
meetings.
That's what I'm saying. Well, we ought to have a workshop. Let's do it right after the next meeting.
You want to have it at the Board of Health meeting on the 8th of November?
We're getting awful late.
Okay,
Well, like I said, I don't want to be cramped. We want to do it right. We could do it after the meeting on the 4th. Is it the 4th?
Well,
Is there, what is happening on Monday?
I don't know about that particular day.
oh, one of these. So I guess
Monday, I'm not.
in this conversation, the bigger question will be, number one, are we willing to run without a road and bridge supervisor for any amount of time after January 1?
If it means, like I said a second ago, if it means getting the right thing and getting the right advertising out so we can get the right qualified guy to apply, yes, I think we can. And because we're already man short anyway.
Where
And still did he hire the last
I
one?
think believe they're fully staffed.
That's the case, and they got a
And
Vince.
speaking to the people, the personnel that I know that are over there, I don't know about the last 3. They are perfectly capable of running day-to-day business.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe we don't need to panic about
That's
having
my-
somebody hired January 1.
That's what I said.
The people in place are perfectly capable of taking care of business. Snowstorms, plowing, maintenance.
And I had a long talk with Vince about that because it looked to me like it's going to take a while to get the right guy in there.
But I don't think we should just keep kicking this can down the road either. I think we need,
The sooner we do
we
it, the
need
better.
to, but I think we need to work this over at a workshop. I don't think we need to do that. Here, and my apologies for not responding to you, sir, but
Well, we all got tied up with a lot of things since we said, and you took the bull by the horns. And that's why I said up in the front of this, I appreciate what you did, Tom. This is a good
thank you.
discussion.
Yeah, so if we are comfortable with not having somebody in place January 1, then that changes things for me.
I think even if we broadcasted the thing right now, here's the 1st of November, it's gonna be, if that, and it was a perfect advertisement, but we probably won't have somebody hired by
Why
then.
not?
Because where we are with people job wise in the whole country. And by the way, we gotta look at how we're gonna advertise it. It's gotta be in the county and it's gotta be wherever we can get it to get the right guy.
Yeah, I don't want to do what we have historically done is panic and hire somebody and then go,
Yeah,
oh, okay, we don't have a job description. We don't know what we're going to pay them.
yeah. And is there a probationary period and is there money gonna increase or not? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of thought. And it was on a probationary period. It's the first one of these we've actually seen that.
and I think we need to, the first thing we need to hash out is what we want the position to look like.
Right, that's exactly where I was coming from. So I'm good with tapping the brakes and slowing down a little bit. I'm like you, I don't want to kick the can down the road,
Right,
or we'll be February, March and not have somebody.
right.
But when we get somebody, I want to be confident that we hired, number one, the right person, that we did our due diligence to get to that point, that we didn't just do a local search, put it in the paper and call it good.
Yeah.
We need to do our job here on any hire. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
I'm
So,
available Monday.
I can't, I'm not
You're not?
out of town.
Okay. So,
yeah, I'm out of town on Monday as well. Tuesday is, I didn't tell you guys this, Tuesday is, of course, election day, and it's also Lynn agrees.
Well, we didn't hear that.
Yeah.
So
So
Wednesday
you want to mark that on your calendar.
and Thursday, we can do it in the afternoon. Ken. You can have a discussion.
Did you say the 8th?
Well, she was using that as
The
the,
8th, because
Okay,
you got BOCC on the 3rd, BOCC
Right.
on the 4th, and BOH on the 8th.
right, okay.
and we've got a CCI meeting somewhere in there, somewhere.
I'm good for the 3rd or 4th, either, well, yeah.
We've
3rd or
got
4th in
the 4th,
afternoon.
we have an executive session with that.
3rd or 4th in the afternoon.
I would be willing to do either one of those.
Yeah, me too. What's good on the first day?
So November 3rd, 1:30. And then I would say plan on spending 2-3 hours. I would say at
Did you
least
say 1 or 1:30?
1:30.
Just to get a little more lunch built in case we run
Well,
out.
always run
Sometimes
late.
people run slow after lunch.
So,
Take a quick nap, is that what you just said?
No, I'm talking about when we go, if we go get something to eat.
I know,
somewhere,
easy.
it's sometimes hard to get back.
so workshop 1:30, discussion of road and bridge job description. That reasonable?
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
And then Lynn's
Good to know
funeral is
it's
at
when and
11,
where.
Cowboy Church, 11 o'clock.
What, Tom, when is Lynn's?
10, he said it to Cowboy Church.
November the 2nd, 10 o'clock, Cowboy Church. Viewings at 10.
November the 2nd. he said. Election day, huh?
Yeah, it's 1:30 to 4:30, just in case. So I'll get those other things from you, Tina, after this meeting if I could. So I'm not.
Okay.
And it's not in the job description, so we'll have to remember to have a discussion about. Thanks, Lori. What? Pay scale, we need to talk about that as well.
It's in there. It's at the end, isn't it? With
It's a blank.
just blank pay rate. Maybe-
Kevin, on page, next to the last page, after number 7. Never mind. I know what that is, RBS.
Yeah, and I don't know why all of a sudden they just abbreviated
Yeah, and
that.
what's a UNCC?
That's the other one I wanted to process, utility locate and request to UNCC.
And I believe that's a different name now. At
It
that
is.
time, that was the company that did all of the
9811 or whatever.
utility locates.
Locate.
And
That's what I thought.
that is,
USIC now? No.
I have no idea.
It's an 811. We can call it up and ask them what they called.
I will get with
that.
somebody and find out what that proper term is,
Yeah.
because I saw your red line on
Right.
that and
And I went back through and tried to see if they defined RBS. Sooner or later, I realized it was road bridge supervisor.
R&B
It just doesn't make
policies,
sense.
county policy. R&B department here.
And I think some of these requirements in here
Yeah,
pertain to the other people that answered.
yeah, and then something else, and maybe we talk about it on the 3rd. If the current supervisor's job changes, then I would hope the assistant supervisor's jobs are gonna change, because I agree with you. They don't need to be operators. They need to be in charge. They need to have the knowledge, the responsibility, and the authority to do their job, and I just don't think that's been the case. But that's, again, that's a philosophical discussion we're gonna have to have.
Yeah. So
And I haven't looked at those assistant supervisor job descriptions.
that might need to be part of that
Let me
conversation.
shoot him.
And I don't even know if there
an
is
email
now. Like that.
Let me shoot him an email and ask him to send those to us.
Okay, and then we'll get ready for the discussion on the weed management. IGA. So where's the IGA, Tina? Yeah, it's just a discussion. We don't have a copy of it. Yeah, this is just a discussion.
I'm just not there yet, sorry.
I pulled the calendar off the wall.
Pardon?
I feel bad. I pulled the calendar off the wall, made a big old hole up there.
I thought I was getting all emotional. You're the one tearing stuff down, huh?
So this was last revised in May of
Kicked in
17.
my predecessor.
It probably did.
I knocked it off regular.
So this was revised before right as they hired Terry.
I believe so.
So what would you think today, right now, Byron's title is?
County shop foreman, I don't know.
It might be maintenance supervisor. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even- Isn't that weird that
Call him the
we
shop,
wouldn't have that?
head of the shop.
So I sent him,
Mechanic.
Yeah, chief mechanic. All right, let's move on. So do you have something to open up, Tom? Today.
So Kevin, you may not be aware of this, Bill should be, and that's that we have an IGA with Huerfano County. We pay them roughly, it changes, $7,000 a year to share their weed manager. His name is Charles Bryant. We reached out to the county commissioners down there 3 years ago and wrote this IGA. And so that's looked differently over the years, over these last 3 years, because they also tasked Charles Bryant to be the, believe it or not, the Gardner water manager for the village of Gardner.
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 The gardener.
They have just been in the gutter down there with their water system. And so they said, you're going to split your time between being our weed manager. Now you're going to be the water district supervisor for northern Werfenau County. Well, ended up their well went to hell on and blah, blah, blah. So they finally hired a full-time guy to do northern Werfenau County water management stuff, which freed Charles back up last year because Charles couldn't commit to everything that we agreed in the IGA. He used one of his summer interns to come up here and do a lot of weed mapping and spraying. And so we managed to get by. They did a good job up here this last summer. So now that's going to change a little bit. It won't change the IGA a whole lot. I struggled at the weed board meeting. I said, I don't see our 2020 and 2021 contract with Werfenau County. Can't find it anywhere. And so we had this discussion at the weed board meeting, and then we realized that this agreement for weed control between us and Werfenau County is a long-standing agreement until either party wants to change it. So we don't get a new agreement every year.
So
You following what I'm saying?
Doesn't have a
Doesn't have a
ending
sunset
clause or
date on it.
or
no.
let's check and renew it. Kind of
It says that,
means we could just go on forever, huh?
yep. I'm trying to just find the exact sentence. We just read it the other day. This agreement this is number 5. This agreement shall run from year to year from the date of the signing unless terminated by either Werfenau or Custer. So we're not going to have a new agreement every year, which is a little weird, but and this agreement did not state a certain dollar amount because that's highly variable. Depends on the number of road miles mapped, depends on the number of, I think he charges by the tank, but he may convert that by the acre. Spraying along the road, it's a little tough to say, I sprayed 3 acres if I used X number of tanks or so much herbicide or whatever. So there's a lot of variability in this, depend on what he does. So this agreement that we're in right now is dated the 19th of June, 2018. And until one of us says we don't like this agreement anymore, that's in place. That makes sense?
It does.
Okay, so Charles said the other day in that meeting, he had to phone in. He said he met with the commissioners and they're good, kind of going back to our original intent now that he's out of the Werfenau water thing, to go back and kind of do what we originally intended. So his job really is 3 things. It's to come up here and map the weed infestations on county road rights of way. It is to spray those, and it is to represent our county on any issues going to the Upper Arkansas Weed Management Council. grants, whatever happens at that level. He represents us. Now, I've been going to those meetings as well. We're getting ready to submit a grant to them for, I think it was $18,000 to basically try to hire a part-time weed assistant, not necessarily to spray, could spray if they're capable and legal under, working under Charles Bryant, which you can do that. But to help with the mapping and then log all that data into the EdMaps software program, statewide program that tracks all noxious weeds, not all, but we have 3 classes of weeds. You're aware of that, A, B, and C. And so the C list weeds, the state won't reimburse us for any expenses to spray those. That's why I mentioned the other day in the budget hearing, they're requesting an additional $2,000 to go after some of those C list weeds.
Which was what?
Now, we're not gonna get that money back, which is just an expense. B and C, we can request reimbursement. I mean, we'll get it, but we are eligible to request reimbursement to the state for those. So that's what Charles's job basically is in a nutshell. And he'll come up here. We may never know he's even in the county. Certainly as commissioners, we wouldn't. Roger Squire is the chairman of the weed board. So generally, Charles and Roger collaborate, at least schedule-wise. And most of the time, Roger knows when he's up here or what he's doing as the chairman. Roger was a lot more involved in this when he worked for Road and Bridge than now, but we reaffirmed that Charles needs to touch base with him to kind of keep him in the loop so he can inform the weed board what's been going on. EdMaps, anybody, that's a public domain. Anybody can go to that site and see what weeds have been mapped in Custer County. By statute, you can also enter into agreement with private landowners to spray noxious weeds on their land. But it's after we've done all of the other statutory work, mostly spraying on the county road rights of way. So I will forward a copy of this to you. I'll give Tina a meeting.
The IGA,
I
I already emailed it.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh, got it right.
All right. So you're looking at it. Okay, didn't know that. Sorry.
I don't. When did you email?
She sent it about 2 minutes ago,
About 2 minutes.
or about 5 minutes.
My golly, no wonder I didn't know they had it.
I don't know.
And Kel, I'm assuming you probably have this. And one of the reasons I put this on here, I wanted to bring it up because I'm not trying to be arrogant. I think I was the only one that really knew this, and I forgot that this wasn't an annual agreement. So I had to go back and ask Charles, why aren't we getting that? And so we dug down through here and found that number
Says
5.
agreement will run year to year from date by signing this agreement unless terminated by either Custer or Morphinell, providing the party seeking to terminate the agreement gives the other party 10 days. Notice.
We will get 2021's invoice from him probably after the 5th of December, somewhere in there, maybe to the 10th. Last year, he performed $12,000 worth of work, and we paid $7,000 of that because he got a grant from Colorado Department of Ag to cover that other $5,000. So he did us a huge favor last year. And now Conservation District, that's Custer County Conservation District, isn't it? Their association earmarked dollars for the weed board above and beyond what they requested from us as a budget item to help with this spring. $2,000 wasn't going to do that. I never really said that, but that's what they were asking the county for. Conservation District already committed some additional money to help weed spraying for C-list weeds that the weed board recommended to the commissioners, and we voted on it last year to include in their weed management plan. There was 4 of them. Bindweed was one, downy brome was another, yellow star thistle was the third one. You don't have those in your minutes, do you, kiddo? I figured that's what you were looking for.
Yep.
Tina's the secretary for the weed board. So we added those to the county list to say, these are weeds we want to be concerned about and deal with, even if the state's not going to pay us to do that.
Dog being was the other one.
Dog bait, thank you. Yeah. And of those four, in my opinion, certainly downy brome, my God, we'll never get a handle on that, but hopefully field bindweed, we can make a stab at that. And that proliferates along the roadsides, as you know, because it just gets drugged down and seed dispersal by equipment. That's one of the big concerns of these hay producers right now is.
So what do you want to get out of this?
I wanted to get what I got out of it, and that was to make us all aware that this IGA is in place unless we change it.
Okay.
We're not going to see a new contract every year. We will get an invoice in December for work done for that year. So I was a little freaked out about that because I knew we were going to get an invoice, and I thought, where the hell's our contract? We haven't signed a contract this year. We don't need to. Okay.
Fair enough.
Works for me. Yeah, Roger didn't get out much beyond Silver Cliff.
No.
So he does need help identifying the weed.
Yeah, so we talked to the weed board about trying to get an intern from CSU or somebody from AmeriCorps Vista to come and live here in the summer and pay them out of this grant and have them map and spray or whatever, talk to landowners, write letters to landowners. I think I mentioned by law, we can go treat noxious weeds on private land and then bill the landowner for that work. We don't want to do that without trying to get an agreement first.
Yeah.
So.
Side note on that, I guess you guys are aware of the spurge that's on the backside of North Creek going down the other side.
North Creek, I don't know where North Creek.
County Road 387 headed towards Beulah.
Oh, gotcha. No, I'm not aware of that. They may be, but.
I think they are.
If Guinevere's not aware of it, unless it's been a long-term problem with the road and bridge, Roger may not be aware of it. We have not had that discussion.
It's off the road a little ways, but you can see it.
Private land or,
It's just into Bill's.
oh, it is on his property. Okay, so we can't just go spray it. We've got a huge issue on a relatively small infestation of leafy spurge on the west side. It's a huge issue because landowners are all mad that we won't go spray it. Well, we're not going to go spray on private land. We can help pay for that, which we have this year to the tune of 20 grand. We've helped private landowners. I just looked at the list this morning. But the weed board has a matching fund up to $8,000 per landowner each year, and we've expended those dollars this year. So I'll ask them about that.
Okay.
North Creek runs which direction?
North Creek runs to Beulah.
So off to the
Southeast.
a little.
Yeah, so,
Okay. So it's on up there a ways. It's over the divide.
yeah, it's just before you hit the cattle guard going down the other side. After you cross the cattle guard, that's when you hit state ground.
For the church camp or whatever. I'll bring that up.
Yeah, it's in Custer County.
Okay. I will mention that to them. Roger will probably have a better handle on it than I do. But
Since we were on weeds.
yes. Yep. Generally, that weed board has not been meeting in the winter. This is the first year we're going to meet year round to try to get a bunch of this stuff hammered out.
Each month.
Yes, that's their plan to meet monthly.
All right. Any other things on that? We good?
No, I think we're good there, sir. Thank you. Didn't mean to ramble, but I just felt like we all need to kind of have a working knowledge of what's going on there.
Okay, but there was something else. We're at the end of the agenda. Any other additional business items?
I have something, I don't know, if probably now versus public comment, if that's all right, sir.
Yeah.
So I've been getting leaned on. Interesting enough, mostly when I'm at home. I haven't heard much about this while I'm sitting here in this office during a business day, but everybody seems to be in a panic about what we are or are not going to do in response to COVID in this county right now. I have basically said to the people that have called me, I will not, as a county commissioner, vote to close the county down again. I will not vote to make a mandatory mask requirement. I will not vote to have any mandatory vaccine requirements as things stand today. I don't know 2 weeks from now, but I'm telling you, as a commissioner, I want this on the record, that's why I'm saying it. I won't support those things based on the knowledge I have today.
Yeah, same here.
I'm assuming you gentlemen feel the same, but I'm not putting words in your mouth.
And a lot of what we're seeing, Cliff just sent out a note, Dr. Brown did, saying that we're getting more tests, we're seeing more positive. That's what I'm given. And and people are doing a good job isolating themselves, and we just need to stay on top of it. If you're sick, stay home.
Yeah, I was going to follow up
Wear the
with
mask.
my statement about that, to say that doesn't mean that I'm not very concerned about where we're at in this county. We're in trouble.
He did say we're tracking along with the rest of the counties and the spikes we're seeing, and also the hospitalizations are decreasing statewide. So even though we're getting more positives, they're not as deadly apparently.
I've said this, and I'll say it again in the Board of Health meeting. I don't put a lot of stock in the numbers that this county is getting. Those numbers are coming from CDPHE. I don't value those. I know for a fact right now, I know 6 people that have COVID. I know 1 person that's in the hospital with COVID. And I also know unless the hospital does something, the state will never know about that. You guys probably know the same thing, because people aren't gonna, and they're not gonna run to public health and say, I've got COVID, report me to the state. They're not gonna do that. Some will. Some will go get tested, but
Well,
some won't.
Then when we find out, when our public health agency finds out, they manage it and they.
Well, they're not gonna manage something they don't know about. That's
That's my
whole
point. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
When they find out and they do, then they track it, but it could be after the fact.
The 6 people I know, public health will never know that they're infected with COVID right now. Because they told me, couldn't tell public health nothing. It's none of their business. I said, well, you damn well better isolate and stay home.
Yeah, they better
Because if
be-
they don't do that, then they compromise all of us, right? Doesn't matter to me whether they tell public health or not. I think they should, but it's their business. I'm not going to tell them they have to do that. But I do think we all have to take personal responsibility that if we are sick, particularly infected with COVID, then we need to isolate and quarantine and do the responsible thing. And not everybody's going to do that. There might be some people who don't know they even have COVID. But I'm concerned. Our numbers over the last 45 days have just been on a steady incline. The numbers that have been given to our county, right? That's
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a public health conversation, and I think we ought to have it about, are we going to just keep sitting back watching the numbers and not doing anything, or is there something else we could be doing besides mandates? I just won't support those mandates.
I think that's informational and reiterating the fact that just what you said, if you're sick, stay away. If you're, people need to exercise personal responsibility, and some do, some don't. I realize that.
Yeah.
But overall,
Even if you have the mandates, those same people aren't gonna,
No,
Good anyway.
so,
But,
you're,
right.
all you can pat yourself on the back because we got a mandate in place or
Right.
something, and so,
Yeah, well, I've been asked twice, are the county commissioners going to make a mandate that every county employee be vaccinated? I said, I will not vote for that. I can't tell you what the commissioners are doing.
I could never support that.
But that's where I kind of wanted to head with this. I had a call, made a big deal about El Paso County making some big proclamation that they weren't going to support, enforce, or put in place mandates handed down from the state. Okay. That's
Howard
fine.
County sent one. Did it, who started it?
We'll see what happens. I mean, we know what's going on in the public health world, right? Some people are being terminated. Personal choice, right? That's personal choice and the ultimate. Hey, I'll quit my job before I do what you tell me. Okay.
Yeah, there's a big, I think we'll see changes.
I know personally more than a few people in that position.
So,
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Red.
Do you think that our cases are, like Tom, like you said, you know, a bunch of people who just aren't telling public health? Do we think we really have that many more cases? Or is it the fact that for the last 4 weeks, we are offering free tests and people don't have to pay and they get the results right away? And so people are just now being tested, so our numbers look more, and maybe they're studied.
I think it may be a combination of both, but having lived here over 35 years, I can tell you there is a lot of people in this county. One of the reasons they live in this county, here's a head nodder, he'll support me. They're not gonna tell anybody. That's just their lifestyle.
Well, it goes on a
Nobody's
lot of
business.
issues up here.
Correct.
And bottom line is, we would know if they died. And they're not,
As we do today.
that's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, good point, good discussion. I don't have anything else. Public comment?
How do I get on the calendar for discussion about marijuana?
Talk to her, talk to me.
Perfect. So that would be my, when,
And we'll decide and we'll look at it and we'll let you know how it is.
yeah, because I'd like to start building something.
Appropriate or
You're talking
not.
about to grow and sell marijuana in Custer County.
I don't know what it's all gonna entail because I know that there's a lot of stuff. So I don't wanna
Sure.
pigeonhole it. I just wanna open a
Well, you
discussion.
got to remember, we're only responsible for the unincorporated parts of Custer County. We have
Yes.
nothing to say about the two towns.
Oh, absolutely. I remember 2-3 years ago when we came in here, we had these
Right.
discussions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, generally you would ask the administrative assistant to ask us or ask us, hey, can I get on the agenda and have a discussion about this? So.
And we'll consider.
can I leave you my email before I leave so I can
Sure.
get so I can have some one-on-one time with you
Sure.
so I can learn the ins and outs of this.
Anything else?
Do you want an executive session for me to report on it?
I wouldn't mind real quick.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Request a quick break first.
You want to do it today? Is that what you're saying?
Quit drinking coffee.
Great idea.
No, I would like to do it now.
Yeah.
Put it up.
Just take
And we
a few
got
minutes.
time and we can do it.
Just take a few minutes, just to let you know what I've been doing.
Well, why don't we
I think
take
he
a
wants
break and
to
come
take
back
reasons
and then
why.
we'll-
I would request a short break before he gave. we
Yeah,
went
let's
into
let's
executive
break
session.
before we break.
Well, let me throw out something then, and it's obviously up to the chairman. Do we want to incorporate your request for an executive session today?
No, I'm not ready.
All right, so we'll agree, we're gonna take a little break.
We can take a break before we convene to break for the executive session. Okay, we're back from the
So,
break we just took. We're back in session on the BOCC meeting, and now I would like to move.
before we adjourn, sir, or before we take a recess. I've got something I want to do before we go into recess.
You mean into?
And while it's still, we're in public.
Okay, all right, so you got, all right, so I won't make the motion yet.
Okay, thank you.
Therefore, what we got, you've got another public comment.
Mm,
Okay,
I've got something I want to talk to you about in an open meeting. So we had said we're going to go into executive session on the 4th.
oh, and I wanted to move that.
Oh,
I'm sorry, that I don't want to move. I do want to move
Workshop.
the workshop to the 4th because I didn't see it, but there's a mayor's roundtop that I've been trying to go because they've asked me to go, and it's on at 2:30 on that day. So I would like to move our workshop to the 4th
From the 3rd,
from the 3rd at 1:30, same deal.
and I'm good with that.
yeah.
And you
that
have,
is-
you do have the other thing we're talking about.
Yeah. So I'm just making a note so I don't forget. That's to deal with R&B job description. So that's off on the 3rd. On the 4th.
Yep.
Okay. So then I would also request in that executive session on the 4th to have another discussion about a personnel issue.
So we have 2 issues to discuss.
Yeah, and I don't know that we have to post those necessarily, do we?
No, you don't have to go into details. What they're gonna
Just
do.
personnel.
But for whatever transparency is involved around executive sessions, I don't think it'd be fair to go into executive session that Bill asked for, and then all of a sudden I jump in and start
A new one.
a new one. So that's my request, is that we consider then 2 personnel
Yeah,
issues.
we can do them in the same executive session.
Yeah,
We
that's
can,
what
You may
and
have to move
the personnel
personnel.
issue is not the kind at this point that requires, the affected or possibly affected person to be present. This is just preliminary. Is my understanding. So
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. I'm requesting an executive session for a personnel issue, but it's preliminary discussion
There's that.
with us 3 that does not dictate that the person be there. Does that make sense?
Doesn't dictate, I would like the person I want to talk about to be there.
Okay, so my executive session would just be us.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? I'm not inviting a personnel, a county employee to be at that executive session. And that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Police were fine there. So, thank you, sir.
Okay,
never mind, go ahead.
okay, with that, then I would move that for a conference with the county attorney for the purpose that we adjourn and
Okay, sir, before you do,
move into an executive. Go ahead.
I'm assuming Mr. Braden's here for some reason.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Because we're getting ready to go into an executive session. And if you had something you wanted to talk to us about, maybe we could do it before, but
Nope, I'm good.
You just like being
I thought
around.
I thought you guys were done, so I was gonna just.
oh, okay. Oh, okay.
You want me to come over and see you when I'm done?
No, we're fine. I misread that. So
Oh,
I just
okay.
want to let you know.
This won't take long.
With that big old notebook, I thought you had something you wanted to.
I have very important things to talk about.
It's not right now. All right, you bet.
Okay, so I move we go into an executive session for the purpose of a conference with the county attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific questions under CRS section 246402-4B.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I would vote aye, and I'm assuming you'll, for the record, tell who you want in that executive session.
Which is probably ought to do.
So I'll withhold my second until we.
Yeah, it would be for information that Clint has to discuss. And I don't know, if do you want anybody else in there, Clint? I don't.
No, Reggie's going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no. You can have the administrative assistant and the clerk.
Yeah, I think they'll
Recorder.
stick around.
Clerk and recorder.
So a six.
That's
So you ought to name those.
So to move into the county or into executive session with the county attorney with Tina Jones. Keep wanting to say admin, Tina admin. Kelly Camper. Commissioner Day, Commissioner Flower, Commissioner Camp.
I will second that.
Then moving second, go into executive session. All in favor, say aye, Tom.
Aye.
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 All right, close the door.
And then I'll go into